I had a dream that Martin Luther King died before he was able to do the things that he set out to do in his lifetime. This great person's words for freedom and equality have been repeated throughout every American history class since he began his fight for equality. It's hard to imagine our country today without Martin Luther King's influence, which very well could have been a real possibility. He was almost killed numerous times before his assassination. Although his death was tragic, it would have been even more so if King sooner. Despite his many hardships, this brave man persevered. Before his assassination, Martin Luther King Jr. almost died numerous times. At the age of 12, he tried to commit suicide when he found out his grandmother died. She passed away from a heart attack. When he found out, he went to the second story of his building and jumped off. He was also stabbed at a book signing 17 years later. Martin Luther King Jr. was one of the most influential and great American speakers of all time. In 39 years, he was able to accomplish more than most people could in a lifetime. At the age of 19, he graduated with a bachelor's degree in sociology. He was also the youngest person of his time to receive the Nobel Peace Prize at the age of 35. He was one of the few men in our country that had such an impact that he has an entire day dedicated to him. Not only does he have a day dedicated to him, but over 700 streets are also named after him, not including buildings and schools. Imagine life without Martin Luther King Jr. Imagine an America today that never abolished slavery and never began a civil rights movement. Where would America be today if it wasn't for this courageous man? An oppressive and racist country? Would we still be considered equal under the law? Someone else likely would have stepped up, but would they have had the same effect as the peaceful protests that Martin Luther King Jr. encouraged and led? Things could have been much different if these same protests were carried out in a violent manner. Martin Luther King Jr. was also a civil rights activist and ultimately gave his life for what he believed in. He was willing to be imprisoned and assaulted in order to establish his views that all men are created equal. He was not only an activist for the rights for African Americans, but a human rights activist. His actions have started many of the new laws for equality in America. Equality and freedom is something worth fighting for, and that's absolutely what Martin Luther King Jr. did. He was stabbed, had his house bombed, and was jailed 30 times for his peaceful protests. Along with his peaceful protests, Martin Luther King Jr. also gave upwards of 2,500 speeches to encourage the civil rights movement. Though a man with nonviolent intentions, he was often the target for violence. His nonviolent techniques worked wonders in the civil rights movement, boycotting buses for 382 days, during which his house was bombed, and inspiring his first speech. During the Birmingham campaign that he led, hundreds were arrested for sit-ins at churches, libraries, and for marching on the county building during voters' registration. Martin Luther King was a great American speaker and so influential to our history. Not only did Martin Luther King's nonviolent techniques help him, but his communication styles, coupled with his leadership, made him the great American speaker that we know today. His bravery, courage, and reverent power is why he deserves all the streets, schools, and even a day dedicated to him. He acted as the pivoting point for civil rights in America. In less than 100 years, African Americans in America have gone from slaves to running this country from the White House. I know I'm thankful not to live in a world so full of hate that we can't like or even love based on the color of our skin.
Very good.